Imagine a fortress so feared that even Nazis joked no prisoner could escape it alive. A place where the Gestapo sent the most troublesome, most brilliant, and most determined Allied prisoners, because this castle, perched on a rocky cliff above the Mulde River, was supposed to be inescapable. But they were wrong. In the final years of World War II, inside the medieval walls of Colditz Castle, a group of Allied officers pulled off one of the most extraordinary, most daring, and most impossible escapes ever attempted during the war. An escape so ingenious that the world didn't learn the full truth until decades later. Today, you're about to hear that story. Before we begin, subscribe so you don't miss more investigations like this. Now let's step behind the walls of the Nazis' most notorious prison. Colditz Castle wasn't just a prison, it was a psychological weapon. The Germans called it Oflag 4C, but the Allies had another name for it, the escape-proof prison. Built in the Middle Ages, Colditz sat atop a vertical cliff face with a single narrow road leading in and out. Floodlights swept the courtyards every night. Machine gun nests guarded the outer walls. Every prisoner was an officer. Every escape attempt was studied. Every weakness was patched. Inside these walls were some of the Allies' most notorious escape artists, men who had broken out of nearly every other prison the Nazis tried to put them in. Pilots, engineers, illusionists, architects, and a few outright geniuses. To the German command, Colditz was the solution. Put all the troublemakers in one cage. Let them outsmart each other instead of the Reich. The Germans were wrong, because by concentrating brilliance, determination, and desperation in one place, they created the perfect storm. And within that storm, a plan emerged, one that defied logic, physics, and the very idea of security itself. Life in Colditz was a strange mix of terror and boredom. The castle was freezing, the food barely edible, and the guards, many of them hardened Wehrmacht veterans, made sure everyone knew who was in charge. And yet, inside the walls, something else was happening. The British formed a theater troupe to hide secret tools inside props. The French built a working radio from scrap metal and wire pulled from bed frames. The Dutch practiced lockpicking. The Poles dug tunnels. The Belgians forged documents so perfect that even German officers believed them. Colditz had accidentally become a university of escape. But one team stood above all the rest. The British Escape Committee, a group of mastermind officers whose mission was simple: outthink the Third Reich. And in 1943, they devised something so audacious that even other prisoners thought it was madness. The Germans believed that escape from Colditz was impossible because every route was blocked. The walls, 30 meters high. Windows, barred, tunnels. The castle sat on solid rock. Bribery, impossible. Guards rotated constantly. Disguise? The Germans knew every face. But the British had something the Germans could never predict. A man who saw the castle not as a prison, but as a puzzle. His name was Bill Goldfinch, a Royal Air Force pilot with a background in engineering. During a conversation with fellow prisoner Jack Best, he whispered the words that would launch one of the most impossible escape attempts in history. What if we built a glider? A glider inside a prison, in secret, using only stolen materials, bed slats, flour paste, electrical wires, and sheets. It sounded insane, but at Colditz, insanity was sometimes the only path to freedom. The chosen location was the attic of the castle's chapel, dark, dusty, and rarely visited. Perfect. Under the noses of German guards, the prisoners built a two-man aircraft, a fully functional, 32-foot wingspan glider called the Colditz Cock. They built ribs from bed slats and floorboards. They stitched the fabric from sleeping bags and bed sheets. They created tools from metal stolen out of the workshops. And they made glue by mixing flour with prison soup. To test the wing shape, they built a miniature wind tunnel using cardboard and a fan secretly wired to the castle's electrical system. Every detail was engineered with care. Every day carried the risk of discovery. Every hour of work meant possible execution. The glider wasn't just a machine, it was a miracle. By late 1944, the glider was nearly ready. If launched from the rooftop, it could glide silently over the 40-foot cliff, cross the Mulde River, and land in farmland beyond German patrol routes. But two problems remained: how to launch the glider, when to attempt it. The solution to the first problem came from an unlikely place: the castle's central stairwell. Prisoners constructed a massive hidden runway using wooden planks. For launch power, they used a counterweight system, sandbags tied to a cable that would be dropped down a shaft, pulling the glider forward with sudden acceleration. As for the second problem, timing, the answer came from the war itself. By 1945, the Allies were advancing fast. The guards were nervous. The commandant was distracted. Security was slipping. The prisoners believed they had a narrow window: launch before the Germans decided to evacuate the castle, or before they executed everyone inside. Everything was ready, and then fate intervened. April 1945. The glider stood ready in the attic, wings stretched, cable taut, sandbags prepared. The launch team waited for the coded signal. But before it came, American tanks rolled into the town of Colditz. The war was over, at least for the prisoners. The glider was never launched. To this day, historians debate whether the escape would have succeeded. But engineering tests, conducted decades later with replicas, proved something stunning. Yes, it would have worked. And yes, they would have made it out alive. The Colditz glider became one of the war's greatest what-if stories. No prison in Nazi Germany had ever faced an escape attempt like this. No group of prisoners had ever dared to build an entire aircraft behind enemy lines. The glider represented something deeper than escape: ingenuity in the face of tyranny, hope in the darkest places, the refusal of free men to accept captivity, no matter how impossible escape seemed. Today, a full-size replica hangs in the Colditz Castle Museum, a silent reminder of what the human mind can do when pushed to the edge. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of World War II's most extraordinary escape attempts, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Your support helps bring more forgotten stories, hidden operations, and untold moments of courage back to light. What other World War II escape stories should I cover next? Leave your suggestions in the comments. We'll see you in the next investigation.